Back when rock ruled the airwaves, these unforgettable one-hit wonders gave us timeless tracks, then vanished. Let's rewind to 1080s gems that deserve another spin.
I got a little change in my pocket going jingle-lang-a-lang.
You hear that line, and chances are you're already singing the rest. The Georgia Satellites came roaring out of Atlanta in the mid-80s with Keep Your Hands to Yourself, a twangy, guitar-driven throwback that sounded more like 1957 than 1987. It was raw, fun, and didn't need keyboards or makeup to make its mark. The band had the chops, tight playing, gritty vocals, and a bar band energy that felt real. But despite the hype, their follow-ups never caught fire. Battleship Chains barely made a dent. So yes, they technically had more songs, but to most of us,
Well, I got a little change in my pockets going jingle-lang-a-lang.
they're forever tied to that one unforgettable line about marriage and patience.
I'm working hard, you're working too.
This was the kind of song that made you reach for the volume knob fast. One of those tracks that just sounded like the 80s were meant to sound. Autograph wasn't a household name, but Turn Up the Radio came out swinging, slick production, a fist-pumping chorus, and a solo that practically begged for air guitar. It was their debut single, and for a moment it looked like they'd go the distance. They opened for Van Halen. They had the look, the sound, the MTV video. But after that, not much. Later releases faded quick. They're a classic case of a band remembered for one high-octane anthem. And honestly, it's still a blast every time it comes on. Blood and Roses didn't sound like anything else on the radio in '86. It was darker, moodier, cooler. That opening bass line, you felt it in your chest. This was Jersey rock with a twist. The Smithereens brought a mix of British invasion influence and American grit, and Blood and Roses nailed that balance. It wasn't flashy, it was tight. The lyrics had weight, and Pat Dinizzio's voice carried just the right amount of weariness and soul. It didn't beg for your attention. It just owned its space. You'd hear it late at night on FM or radio, maybe driving home alone, and it stuck with you. A song with real atmosphere, built to last. Unlike the one-hit wonders featured, this channel is here to stay. So like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.
Don't turn around.
It was strange, catchy, and totally unforgettable. After the Fire wasn't even a new band when this song hit. They'd been around since the early 70s, playing progressive rock in the UK, but in the US, no one knew them until this single exploded.
She said, babe, you know I miss Jill and Joe and all my funky friends.
Here's the twist. It was a cover. The original version came from Austrian pop star Falco, but After the Fire gave it a new wave makeover. English lyrics, punchier synths, and a slicker groove.
Spike right here, 1, 2, 3. It's easy to see, but it's not that I don't care. So
It felt different from the rest of the pop charts. A little mysterious, a little European, and just cool enough to make you feel like you were in on something. This one takes you right back to the summer of '86. Bright, clean production. That huge chorus. And yes, that's Bryan Adams on backing vocals. Glass Tiger came out of Canada with this massive debut single, and for a minute, it felt like they might be the next big thing. It was sentimental, but never sappy. Hooky without being over the top. The song had that perfect mid-'80s mix of rock and synth, with a melody you couldn't shake if you tried. It showed up everywhere. MTV, radio, prom playlists. Even if you don't remember the band name off the top of your head, you definitely remember that chorus. It's a total time capsule. This was a side project, but it sure didn't sound like one. When members of Duran Duran, John and Andy Taylor teamed up with Robert Palmer and Tony Thompson from Chic. You got something slick, loud, and totally unexpected. Some Like It Hot hit hard right out of the gate. The drums were massive, the riff was bold, and Robert Palmer's vocals? Smooth and stylish with just enough edge.
Like it's hot and some sweat when the heat is on.
It was funk and rock thrown in a blender, and somehow it worked. The video was everywhere. The band looked sharp, sounded even sharper, and made a huge splash. For one track, this supergroup absolutely nailed it.
In the dark, I like to read his mind.
It wasn't just a song, it felt like a scene from a movie. Voices Carry stood out with its haunting melody, sharp lyrics, and that unforgettable line. Amy Mann's voice carried the whole track. Cool, restrained, but full of tension. You could feel the conflict bubbling under every word. It wasn't overproduced. It didn't scream. It simmered. The video helped too. A quiet woman finally standing up in a concert hall? It connected. It meant something. Til Tuesday may not have stayed long in the spotlight, but this song hit a nerve. It was moody, modern, and miles away from your typical 80s pop. It still stops you in your tracks. You've probably quoted this one without even realizing where it came from. It sounded optimistic, but it wasn't. Timbuk 3, a husband and wife duo with a drum machine, wrote it as a satire. A dark joke about nuclear threat, career pressure, and Cold War anxiety. But listeners took it as a feel-good graduation anthem. Ironic, right? It had a quirky sound. Jangly guitar, a laid-back beat, and a vocal delivery that almost smirked its way through the track. It got plenty of play on college radio and MTV, helped by the sunglasses and deadpan vibe in the video. One of the cleverest one-hit wonders of the decade, misunderstood at the time and kind of genius when you look back.
Moses went up to the mountain high to find out.
You don't hear many rock songs that name drop Moses and Elvis in the same verse, but this one pulls it off. The Rainmakers came out of Missouri with a smart, witty brand of heartland rock, and Let My People Go Go was their moment. It took biblical references, mixed them with social satire, and delivered it all over a foot-stomping beat. The lyrics are sharp but playful, like rock and roll with a raised eyebrow. You gotta get your mind off your behind. Not exactly Springsteen, but definitely memorable. It charted number 86 on Hot 100 in the US, but became a cult favorite in places like the UK, where the band actually had more traction. Catchy, clever, and a little weird, in the best way.
Sometimes when this place gets kinda empty.
Some songs just feel like a dream, and Under the Milky Way is one of them. The Church, a band from Australia, crafted this haunting, echo-laced track that didn't sound like anything else. In '88, it wasn't trying to be flashy or loud. It was slow, spacious, and mysterious.
Wish I knew what you were looking for.
That line hits harder than you expect. It's about longing, distance, and not quite having the words, wrapped in swirling guitars and that signature Ebo solo. It wasn't a huge hit at the time, but it lingered. Movies, TV, late night radio, it kept resurfacing. One listen and you're transported. It's not just a song, it's a mood, a moment that still feels untouched by time.
Under the Milky Way tonight.
These weren't just one-hit wonders. They were lightning in a bottle, songs that stuck, bands that mattered, timeless echoes from the decade that refused to fade quietly.